always true.
I'm Asad Bey in Dushanbe. As global warming intensifies, melting glaciers here in Tajikistan are not just a national concern, but a regional one. They could trigger irreversible climate changes across Central Asia, including desertification, agricultural crisis, and the decline of the entire region due to water shortages. The government of Tajikistan has launched the Dushanbe Water Process, an initiative aimed at tackling these urgent issues. It's hosted a high-level international conference as part of the UN's International Decade for Action on Water for Sustainable Development. However, Tajikistan's aspirations on the global stage are often shadowed by serious allegations of human rights violations and crackdowns on democratic freedoms. At the same time, it's navigating complex geopolitical dynamics, with global and regional powers vying for influence in this strategically located landlocked nation. Join us over the next half hour as we explore the challenges and opportunities facing Tajikistan today, as Tajik Foreign Minister Sirojiddin Muhriddin talks to Al Jazeera. Tajik Foreign Minister Sirojiddin Muhriddin, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. Let's talk about this water conference that's taking place here in Tajikistan, the capital, Dushanbe. You've invited the international community here. You're sounding the alarm bells. What are the real dimensions of this issue for you? What are the consequences for your country and the region?
Thank you very much. The government of the Republic of Tajikistan aiming to continue serving as a platform for political dialogue, partnership and action supported by the United Nations, organizes and conducts high-level international conferences throughout the Water Action Decade, known as the Dushanbe Water Process. These biennial conferences within the Dushanbe Water Process provide timely and valuable opportunities for fostering an enabling environment and serve as a platform for supporting action, expanding partnership, engaging in political dialogue, reviewing the implementation of the Decade program, and developing linkages with other relevant processes. Since 2003, when we organized and held the first International Freshwater Forum, we have been the initiator of most of the United Nations General Assembly resolutions on water issues. Our country is active in advancing water issues on the global agenda. We aim to maximize the use of existing structures, both in terms of implementation and monitoring and reporting on progress. It is important to note that the collective ambition of the global community to achieve ambitious goals outlines in the water sector within the action agenda fosters cohesion and encourages cooperation for all stakeholders capable of contributing to global sustainable development. I am confident that the outcomes of the conference will contribute to increasing the international community's attention to integrated water resources management issues in the interest of achieving socio-economic and environmental goals, implementing and promoting relevant programs and projects, as well as strengthening cooperation and partnership at all levels to support the implementation of international agreed water-related goals and objectives, including those formulated in the Sustainable Development Agenda for the period up to 2030. We are aware that in today's world, water scarcity can have a negative impact on interstate relations. In this regard, our country is always open to dialogue and always strives for rational use of water and is not inclined to use water as a lever of pressure
Can you tell me about the consequences for your country, though? So you are facing, the issues around climate change and water scarcity. What impact will this have on Tajikistan and the region?
As a result of global warming, we are witnessing natural disasters that cause significant damage to agriculture, the environment, and the economy. This year, for example, we have witnessed colossal cataclysms, water-related disasters. Tajikistan, with 93% of its territory covered by mountains, is also vulnerable to climate change. Every year, natural disasters cause millions, I can say dozen millions of US dollars in damage to our country, and we also record human casualties, unfortunately. Climate change leads to rapid glacier melting, a reduction in river water discharge, and has a negative impact on key sectors of the national economy, such as energy, agriculture, and industry. Tajikistan forms 60% of Central Asia's water resources, and they originate from the glaciers and snow-covered areas of our country. Taking this factor into account, Tajikistan has initiated the United Nations General Assembly resolution about the declaration of 2025 as the International Year of Glaciers Preservation. We believe this will create a favorable foundation for developing cooperation among stakeholders to preserve glaciers and prevent their melting. Tajikistan has developed its national strategy of adaptation to climate change for 2030 based on our international commitments and the provisions of the Paris Agreement. One of the ways to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement is undoubtedly the formation of a green economy and the efficient use of renewable energy sources.
What I'm interested in, this is the third conference taking place in your country. What has been achieved so far? What positive outcomes have you seen? And has the international community really heeded your calls?
For us, water diplomacy is very important. As you know, in our, we can say, short independent time, sometimes we faced some difficulties in our intergovernmental cooperations with some countries of the region because of the water and energy use issues between 5 countries, for example, of Central Asia. Fortunately, today we achieved very positive and very productive level of cooperation between the countries of the region, and we can say that today we have not any difficulties. We have existing infrastructures like International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea, Interstate Commission on Water Coordination between 5 countries, and Interstate Sustainable Development Commission. Through these institutions, 5 countries of Central Asia are very productively cooperating. And this is very important for us. Why? Because of some other our important economic issues like transport, communication, for example, and the trade and other issues during this short time depended on water and energy use issues. And when we achieved this very productive, friendly level of cooperation on water and energy issues, we could resolve all of the other our problems, I mean the economic problems also.
You spoke about economic problems. This is the first time I'm visiting your country, and it's very evident there's lots of construction projects taking place. How does the issue of water scarcity affect your economy?
You see, Tajikistan is, as I mentioned, it is like a water tower country. And on one hand, we have so many rivers, more than 600 rivers, yes, and so many lakes, more than 1,500 lakes in my country. It means that we must to have the very productive water supplying level, but in any case, some part of our, for example, settlements and population, they are living in the rural areas, and we did during our independent time a lot of infrastructures for the resolving of water supplying. First of all, water drinking supplying issues, and also for irrigation sector. But on the other hand, our problem is water-related nature disasters. Unfortunately, every year my country is facing with same problems, and as consequences of water-related disasters, every year 100 hectares of, for example, the agricultural lands are destroying, or the roads, electricity lines, settlements, etc., etc. It means that when we are talking about the water issues, we have to count also the negative issues of this complex of water problems, which are, as I mentioned, water-related disasters.
You're talking about these economic issues that your country faces. You're the poorest country in Central Asia. What are your development plans for the future? The economic development plans for the future for the country?
As I mentioned above, in Tajikistan, 90%, I can say more than 96% of our electricity is generated from hydroelectric power stations, utilizing a renewable source of green energy. This is, I mean, the hydro energy or energy sector, it is one of the important sector of our economy. The government of Tajikistan has developed a green economy development strategy for the 2023 to 2037. The document emphasizes efficient use of water, land, natural minerals, investments, adoption of modern and innovative technologies, and strengthening international cooperation.
You talk about international cooperation here.
Yes.
I just want to talk about, where does Tajikistan fit in? It's in a strategic location. Where does it fit in between the big hitters like Russia and the United States politically? How do you balance that in terms of your political stances?
You know, from the second decade of our independence time, our leader of nation, President of Tajikistan, declared the main principle of our foreign policy. It is principles of open doors, and it means that we are keeping the balanced cooperation with all of the countries of the world, with superpowers, with small countries, with anybody, and this brings us very good results. For example,
what kind of good results are we talking about? Because you have a historical relationship with Russia. You also have, since 2003, an agreement with NATO to fight extremism and terrorism. So, for example, if I was to ask you, where does your country stand in terms of the war in Ukraine, considering your historic and close ties with Russia?
You see, first of all, we have very good mutual understanding with each of them on any problems, on political problems, on the economic problems, issues, I mean. And this is important for us that we don't want to be involved in any, how to say, conflicts.
But you're not involved in the conflict, but do you have a stance, a political stance?
Regarding Russia and Ukraine conflict, from the beginning, we declared that we appealed to all of the countries to resolve all of these issues through the political and diplomatic negotiations. We have, of course, very good cooperation with Russia because Russia is our strategic partner, and also we have very good cooperation with Ukraine too. And still we are keeping with both of them normal diplomatic and political cooperation. That's why this is only our principle and our approach to appeal to all of the sides to resolve this complex situation through the political negotiations.
As you put yourself out there on the international stage, you are inviting delegates from around the world, you're calling on the international community, but there's the other side of that. It puts your country under the spotlight. And there are a number of issues in terms of human rights issues. Now, according to the United States, there are credible reports of torture and abuse of detainees, serious restrictions in terms of freedom of expression and media, including violence and threats of violence against journalists. Now, there's a long list. As a top diplomat of your country, how is your country going to deal with these concerns when you are putting yourself out there, dealing with the international community? How do you deal with these human rights concerns?
First of all, we are member of different UN conventions and other international conventions on human rights issues, and we are reporting time by time as needed on these issues. Of course, our legal, how to say, basic is, we can say, the normal for answering to any questions from any international conventions or our partners. And we are doing our best in order to provide the high-level human rights, how to say, standards for our people in our country. And we achieved on these issues very high level, I can say.
Is the actual change taking place in the country? Because human rights organizations would tend to disagree with you. This report that I'm quoting was only just last year.
You see, unfortunately, some international human rights non-governmental organizations, for example, they cannot understand our situation. They have to understand that we are standing here face to face with one of the global centers of terrorism, extremism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, neighboring Afghanistan. And we have the longest border with this country, 1,400 kilometer border with this country. During more than 4 decades, unstable situation in this country. And we can say that today, dozen other international terrorist groups like ISIL, Al-Qaeda, etc. are located in this country. And on one hand, on the second hand, you see, we don't produce any military weapons or even ballots or.
But in dealing with this, you just said that you are a signatory, you abide by these international standards of human rights, but you're saying that at the same time that these people don't understand your challenges. But when you're dealing with these challenges, with these groups, are you abiding by those international standards?
For example, within the Human Rights Council, we are introducing periodically our reports where we are, how to say, demonstrating what we are doing here, yes, with the human rights issues. But the problem, as I mentioned, it is misunderstanding between non-governmental international organizations on human rights and our actions on keeping of the human rights issues on.
So let's
because different. What does mean this misunderstanding? Because of they cannot understand our situation. We are a small country. First of all, priority number one for us, keep our security and stability in the country. We don't want to allow any terroristic groups, any terrorists to do any actions, any activities in the territory of Tajikistan.
I want to quote you from the US Commission on International Religious Freedom. And I quote, and they say that your government's already dismal record on religious freedom continues to deteriorate. And they say that your government has repressive policies, suppressing displays of public religiosity. And they also say that there's a ban on beards and hijabs. Now, as a top diplomat representing your country, a Muslim majority country, how do you address these concerns? And before you answer that, this is not about fighting extremism or terrorism. This is about citizens of your own country and the freedom for them to display their religiosity or display their religion.
Respect of human rights, including the religious freedom in accordance of our obligations under international conventions and under our national law, it is most important task for my government. And we are doing our best in order to provide more conditions for religion freedom in our country. And in my country, religion issues not politicized. It is out of the, how to say, the political our activities. It means that any our citizens, they have to visit any religious center, for example. They can pray 5 times or how many they want. And as you know, for example, in order to have more better opportunities for believers and for all of the people to visit mosques, we constructed one of the biggest in the region mosques, for example, in Dushanbe, in cooperation with the state of Qatar for it. And if we will count how many mosques in our country per, for example, the people of Tajikistan, we have more than 5,000 mosques in the country. And it means that no any problems for any of our citizens in case of, for example, the religious freedoms. However, some international organizations and UN organizations or State Department, they are making sometimes some, for example, their reports. This is their deals. But we invited 2 times reporters from, for example, United Nations, and we, during 5-6 last years, many times I, for example, through the State Department, invited any representatives of United States to visit my country, to meet with the people, with the religious leaders, and to talk freely about the problems on religions. But we think that we have not any problems. And this is not only for Muslim people in my country. Any other religious and confessions, they are also free. We have different centers of, for example, for Christians and the other representatives of global religions and even religious minorities. But only one thing which we are controlling, it is to be religion, might be any religion centers, they must to have their activities only for the religion activity, not for any extremism, radical activities. These issues must be controlled by government, by country, like in any other countries of the world, because we are afraid, of course, for example, in my country, more than 95% of the people are Muslims. There are around us, as you know, a lot of ideologies, radical ideologies. We have to protect us and our people from same radical ideologies. This is only the, how to say, difficult task for my government. The other issues, I think that you can even talk with any our citizens, or you can visit any religious center, our mosques, and they will explain you that there are no any difficulties in these issues in my country.
Tajik Foreign Minister Sirojiddin Muhriddin, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you.